It's been a little while since Oppo has made its way to Europe, but the Find X8 series is here. And if you pick up the Find X8 Pro, you might be a little bit more familiar with this phone than you think. I say that because the Oppo Find X8 Pro is almost confusing. It's undoubtedly an Android phone, but has so much influence from the iPhone. Let's take that quick button that Oppo have put on the side of the phone. It was the first thing I noticed when I picked up this phone, and I know that Android phones have had this way before the iPhone decided to introduce it, and Sony phones still have them. But what Sony doesn't have is a touch capacity button, which the iPhone does, as does the Find X8 Pro. I wanted to see whether Oppo had made this button useful, or at the very least made it easier to use, but it's actually still quite hard to use and it's not great, and it might even be worse than the iPhones. So how it works is that you double click it to open the camera and then swipe your finger back and forth to change the zoom, which honestly is just difficult. I could never get the zoom that I wanted without either going past it or falling short. I either have to go really slowly or try about 5 times to have it stop where I'm actually trying to get it. And honestly, I'd rather just use the on-screen buttons. The quick button doesn't allow you to do anything other than zoom at the moment, and you can't change any more functions within the camera app. You can single tap to take a photo or press to burst, but that's about it. Now, Oppo did say that there is an update coming to allow you to do more with this, but I'm not sure any amount of updates could make me want to use the quick button. There's still a bit more that makes this phone iPhone-like, because ColorOS is so similar to iOS, and I definitely won't be the first or the last person to bring that up. There's also another iPhone influence, which is equally as obvious, because Oppo have introduced an almost AirDrop-like feature called O+ Connect, which is meant to make photos and videos sharing with iPhones a little bit easier. Or it should be easier, but for me, this app didn't work all of the time. How this works is that you need to download the O+ Connect app on your iPhone, have that open, and then connect to the Oppo phone's hotspot and receive the file. And I did try it a few times, and it failed far too many times than it worked, and it kind of just made me not want to try this again. There's also even a live photo option in the camera that is exactly the same as the live photo on iPhone. It's even named the same. But away from everything that makes this feel like an iPhone, there's the obvious Androidness that we come to expect. Oppo have managed to put a huge battery into the Find X8 Pro, and no matter what I've been doing, whether I've been watching content on its 120Hz 6.8-inch display or using its quad cameras to take photos and videos, I just couldn't kill it. It can charge up to 65% in 30 minutes, and you can also get 50 watts wireless charging through that AirDrop charging, and this will support mag charge as well. But to get that, you do need a case for mag charging any of its accessories, because there is no magnets in the phone. And even though my review unit came with a charger, if you're buying this in the UK or the EU, there will be no power brick in the box. But having a battery you don't have to worry about charging throughout the day is something that I look for all the time. I don't like that battery anxiety, so good job on this one, Oppo. It's really impressive. Going back to ColorOS, this is actually lovely to use. It's quick, responsive, and I love that you can actually find what you're looking for in the settings without having to dig through every single menu. One thing that I don't like is the amount of random apps you either have already downloaded onto your phone or are heavily suggested to download through Hot App. Like, what even is Shopee? There is the split quick controls and notification shade, which I actually don't like, but luckily you get the chance to turn this off on setup. Oppo actually offers some really good AI features this year, so you obviously get circle to search and all of that goodness with Gemini. There's AI summary that can summarize web pages for you that works on almost all browsers, and there's also AI speak that can be a bit temperamental but can read web pages for you aloud pretty well. You have AI reflection remover, which is a little bit hit or miss depending on how big that reflection is, but this actually works pretty well. And there's a feature that Oppo just don't need called AI on blur, and the reason that they don't need it is because the shutter is so quick on this. I just can't get any photos to blur, and trust me, I've tried it, but it just doesn't happen. And that brings me on to the biggest selling point here, and that is the cameras. And as there is no Ultra for the Find X8 series, we're going to take this as the best that Oppo can give us. And while the cameras are actually a slight downgrade from the 7 Ultra, with the main camera having a smaller sensor than the 1-inch on that Ultra, it still takes some great photos. All 4 of these lenses are 50 megapixels, and the main camera still manages to capture some really impressive pictures, and the details that you get are great. Maybe those details aren't so great in the shadows, but overall, I actually have no complaints here. For telephoto, you actually get the options of either 3 or 6 times, and both of these capture some great photos. And I actually really love having the option of 3 and 6 times because it covers you for pretty much everything. You get AI telescope zoom, which kicks in after 10 times, and the AI here helps to enhance that photo. And at lower zooms, this does a really good job, and it can do a good job as well at 60 times zoom if the photo is clear. But if you zoom in on something that's not as clear, then this is not really usable despite the help of the AI. The video is 4K at 60 and it's okay, but I found it to be a little jittery when moving, and while the video isn't that bad, I kind of struggled to look past that jitteriness when moving around with the phone. And the most important factor here is pricing, because if this is priced too high, then there's no point in getting it, and if it's too low, then it's a great deal. But sadly, at the point of recording this video, I don't have the pricing. But Oppo did tell me that this would go up against the likes of the Galaxy S24 Plus, and if it is priced around that, then this would actually be a great alternative. And yes, the quick button isn't amazing, and the iPhone-like inspiration is a little bit too obvious, but the battery and the quality from those quad cameras are more than enough for most people. And I think this makes it a really enticing option. And hey, maybe Oppo did enough here to make you want to ditch your iPhone. Oppo have said that there'll be 5 years of OS updates as well for this, which I think is really nice. But let me know, what do you think of the Oppo Find X8 Pro? If you check the pinned comment below, as soon as we have the pricing available, we will put it there. But before you head off, why not subscribe to the Android Authority YouTube channel? And if you do that, and I'll see you in the next video.